Okay, guys, so to get started with our recipe, you're gonna need some lobster tail, obviously. Now, the best way to defrost your lobster tail is if you have a 24-hour period. This way, you can put it in the fridge, and by the next day, your lobster tail should be ready to go. Okay, so my lobster tail are clean and defrosted. I had some clean and deveined shrimp, Cajun seasoning, Obey seasoning, onion and garlic powder, paprika, parsley, Dijon mustard, whatever crab meat you like, minced garlic, and mayonnaise. Now, to get this recipe started, you're going to have to cut your lobster tail open. I already did the first three for you, and I'm going to show you how to do the last one. So I'm taking my kitchen shears and I'm cutting down the center of the lobster tail. Now, this can be pretty tricky. So you want to make sure your kitchen shears are nice and sharp. All right. Then you're going to try to separate the meat from the shell without breaking the shell too much. Now, even though we don't eat the shell, we use the shell for presentation, which is why you don't want to break your shell too much. Now, as you can see, I failed miserably and I broke the shell a lot. Now, obviously you want to try not to do that, but if in the case, sometimes it happens, lobster tail can be tricky. So as long as you don't do it too much, so this way your presentation could be good in the end. And I'll show you guys how to do that. So I'm steady trying to take the meat apart from the shell. Once I get it almost apart, I'm going to try to pull the meat upwards towards me while also closing the shell, as if you can see what I mean. And then I'm going to place my meat on top of the shell, spread out like so, like that. You want to give your lobster tail a quick little rinse, quick little wash, just because while cutting the shell, you sometimes might get pieces of the shell in your meat, okay? Once your lobster tails are cut, they should look like that. Now we're going to go ahead and season our butter. We're not going to season this lobster tail directly in this recipe. We're only going to season the butter. So you want to make sure your butter is well seasoned. Now, melted in front of me is some salted butter. I'm adding in Obey and Cajun seasoning, which both of those have a really high salt content. So feel free to use unsalted butter for this recipe as well. You just want to make sure that you're not using margarine, okay? You want to use actual butter for this recipe. Now I'm adding in some onion powder. And then I'm going to add in some garlic powder right after that. Now, the thing is, guys, I do not measure my seasonings. I never measure my seasonings. I told you guys I'm a home chef. I cook for my family, friends, neighbors, things like that. But I don't measure my seasonings. I don't know how I do it. And I can make it taste the same each time. So I can always tell you what I put in something. I just can't tell you how much. So you just got to watch and see. So I added in some paprika as well for some color and a little bit of parsley for decoration. And then now I'm adding in some garlic, minced garlic. If you have fresh garlic, that's actually even better. You just want to chop it up really fine before adding it into your mixture. Spend about 2 to 3 minutes mixing your butter mixture together just to make sure everything is well blended. Once it's well blended, you can pour your butter mixture over all your lobster tails. If you have a brush, take your brush and baste your lobster meat all over. Try to get every nook and cranny, guys. Don't nobody want unseasoned lobster tails at the table. If you don't have a brush, you can use your hands. Just make sure to have some gloves handy. Baste both the top and bottom of your lobster meat and repeat this step for all your lobster tails. Now we're going to place our lobster tails to the side and preheat our oven to 425 degrees while we make our seafood stuffed mixture. I'm starting off with a dollop of mayonnaise, and I'm going to follow that up with some Dijon mustard. The brand of the mayonnaise and mustard does not matter. Whatever mayonnaise and Dijon mustard you have in the house, you can use. Now I'm going to add in some seasonings. I'm adding in some Obey, some parsley, a little bit of paprika for color, some onion powder, and garlic powder. You're also going to see me add in some Mrs. Dash onion and herb. Now, that's completely optional. I only added that in because I cook everything with Mrs. Dash onion and herb. Now, again, guys, bear with me. As I told y'all before, I never measure my seasonings. I do everything by eye. So if measurements are better for you, create your own measurements. This is better for me, so I'm going to continue doing this by eye. After your onion and garlic, you're going to add in 1 egg. There goes the measurement for you guys. 1 egg. After your egg, you want to whisk that little mixture together and it should look nice and flat like that. Now we're going to add in our crab meat. I'm using jumbo lump crab meat here. You can use whatever crab meat you like. That could be claw crab meat or whatever you'd like. I just don't recommend imitation crab meat for this recipe. Now I'm also adding in my shrimp. I use jumbo shrimp, so I ended up cutting each piece of shrimp into 3 pieces. So this way I can get nice chunks of shrimp, but not too much. If you're using small shrimp or medium shrimp, you may not want to cut them at all. And now I'm just mixing together our little seafood stuff mixture. Because I didn't want to dirty up another dish, I just kept using my whisk, but you might want to use a spoon or a spatula. We're going to add in some breadcrumbs as a binding agent, so this way our seafood stuffed mixture is not too loose, so we can easily put it on top of our lobster tails. By now, our oven should be preheated all the way to 425 degrees. I went ahead and put our lobster tails only in the oven for about 1 to 2 minutes, so this way our lobster meat can cook slightly. Now, I did that because I didn't want to put the seafood stuffed mixture on top of the lobster and that cook, but our lobster not be fully cooked at the bottom. So just for about 1 to 2 minutes, I just allow the lobster meat to cook by itself. And now I'm adding on my stuffed seafood mixture. As you can see, I'm shaping the mixture as I'm putting it on top of the lobster tails, keeping in mind that presentation is key. Don't our lobster tails look so good, guys? Okay, so that butter mixture that we had extra left over from earlier, we're going to now pour that on top of our seafood stuffed lobster tails, just to give it a little bit of extra flavor and a little bit of color as well. Now, I'm not trying to drench it. I'm just trying to slowly pour it on there lightly. I could just taste these lobster tails through the phone. These came out amazing. All right, and now our lobster tails are ready to cook in the oven at 425 degrees. We're going to cook these for about 5 to 8 minutes, depending on the size of your lobster tails, because if they're bigger, you might want to cook them closer to 10 minutes or 11 minutes, but we're going to cook ours for about 5 to 8 minutes or until our shell becomes opaque. Okay, now our tails are out the oven and oh my gosh, look at that. Okay, these came out amazing, guys. Paired it with some homemade mashed potatoes and some grilled asparagus and bada boom, there you have it, cooking with Imam Mulan. If you guys have any suggestions, questions, anything like that, please comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe and look out for more videos.